Ah, the Cronenbergs, like father, like son. Though now it seems like the son is better than the father. So like the son benefits from the sins of the father. I don't know. There's a religious metaphor in there somewhere.
Show me how strong you are. It's really disgusting. You could just sit there and watch it happen.
You know, James, do you worry they got the wrong man?
And today we have Infinity Pool. Infinity Pool has managed to get like just enough traction to kind of be on that borderline mainstream horror sort of radar. It helps that you have two leads that are both well known in their own right, but we'll get to that in a moment. I don't know if you call it the second official film by this guy, but in my memory and filmography of this guy, it's like his second big film. Brandon Cronenberg, and that last name might ring a couple bells or something, but Brandon Cronenberg, who is son of David Cronenberg, who's like the original king of body horror, with some of his most well-received films like The Fly back in the day. But I mean, this guy, like horror, body horror, it used to be synonymous with Cronenberg. I had reviewed Daddy Cronenberg's latest venture into film last year, Crimes of the Future. I would say that film made my list of like top disappointing films. Not bad, just didn't do it for me personally. But now we have his son Brandon on the scene, and I discovered his son through, I did a reaction for Possessor, which is the last film that he did a few years back, but I finally watched it for the first time last year, and I really enjoyed Possessor. Not as heavy on the body horror, body swapping, more like psychological sci-fi thriller horror, but I really liked it. So naturally, when I heard that Brandon Cronenberg had a new film coming out, and this one has more press, more marketing, more names of note, I was already in from the word go. So we have Alexander Skarsgård, who I previously covered most recently on my channel once again with The Northman earlier last year. I like The Northman, didn't love it, but I love the Skarsgårds, they're all great. But I swear to God, call me crazy, especially in this movie though, Alexander Skarsgård, in the right light, I swear to God, this man looks like Joel Kinnaman. I kept seeing him, especially when he puts the shades on, has his hair back, and in this movie, the way that he's dressed, I swear to God, I kept seeing Joel Kinnaman. I didn't think from the trailer that she would be a lead, but she ended up being basically like the secondary character, more or less. Mia Goth, who is now like been propelled into the spotlight. She was already great beforehand, but thanks to X, and now thanks to Pearl, especially Pearl with her performance in that, a lot more people in the cinema sphere know Mia Goth. Is it Mia's strongest performance? Maybe not necessarily, but I think they both like do a great job in their own right. Rich couple vacationing in some random fictitious country that's in it, like they're a nice resort, but the surrounding area is like sketchy with very weird like groups and governments and all this like really shady shit. And of course, because horror movies got a horror, they venture off from where their vacation was at the resort. After meeting a couple, messing around on the beach and whatnot, on their way back home late at night, boom, they hit a rando on the road. And then as our main guy is arrested, we find out that police in this country, if you murder somebody, like if you even if it's, you know, manslaughter, or in this case it's kind of a hit and run, the next of kin in the family is then permitted legally to kill you. So the guy's like, what, I'm just gonna die? And they're like, well, if you have enough money, you can basically pay the state to create a double of yourself, and then they'll be executed in your place. And that's what the trailer shows, and the premise goes from there. The first two acts of Infinity Pool I definitely really liked, and I almost loved it. I really enjoyed the premise. I will give no spoilers for what happens in the film, but the premise as it evolves, I really liked the direction it started to evolve in. The last act isn't bad, but the last act is definitely going to lose some people. I'll get to that in a moment, but overall, I didn't like Infinity Pool as much as Possessor. I think I really loved Possessor. It was really great, but I still think this is like you know, it's a good one. It's like when you watch Get Out, right? You watch Get Out and then you watch Us and you're like, well, it wasn't as good as Get Out, but it's still a good movie. I still like this director. Like I said, I like the premise of it. I love sci-fi. This movie's very Black Mirror-esque, kind of just like almost dystopian future in a way, but current times. Like, we're not too far in the future, but the tech that's introduced, obviously, well, cloning kind of exists to an extent, and they've been able to clone like certain animals and whatnot, but like we don't have just casual cloning capabilities now, as far as I'm aware. I love the unique sci-fi concepts that are introduced. There are some ones that are more hidden that kind of are introduced as the film goes on. I love how the film brought those to the table and started to explore them. I think overall the film has great direction. Like I said, I'm a fan of Brandon Cronenberg's work. I like how he's able to take a vacation resort and make it supremely unsettling and like, but not blatantly horrific, but the whole time I was just like, I would never come here for a vacation. None of this sounds relaxing or fun or enjoyable. Why would you go to a place where there's like barbed wire fencing around it and they're like, yeah, you can't leave, otherwise you will probably not return. And also I like his cinematography. He has unique little visual flares throughout his films. It's a lot of like interesting choices of how to shoot certain scenes from certain perspectives, how you frame a shot using your environment and using the building that you're in, the people that you're with, certain close-ups on parts of the body, you know, lips, eyes, but it's never used too ad nauseum. You know, it's used like just enough to make it visually unique, or in some cases visually striking. I just like it. It's a slightly unorthodox filmmaking, especially in certain sequences in this film. Things get pretty R-rated, pretty like whenever the sci-fi stuff starts happening. Again, it was very similar to what Possessor did, but Brandon's work behind the camera with all of this is great. I was able to visualize what the characters like, you know, seeing or going through mentally as whatever's happening is happening. You know, it's, you take drugs and some films try to replicate that. I think this film did a great job with replicating that visual air, you know. Acting is great. The whole cast does a good job, but of course you have your two mains, and I mean, the top billed cast for a reason. But I think it's funny, like Skarsgård looks constantly shell-shocked in this movie. I mean, the man's traps ever since The Northman, like the shoulders are up here. He's clearly well built, but at the same time, he's like a timid puppy in certain moments in this film. And to see a big, muscly guy just kind of being like, I don't know what's going on, but you tell me to jump, I'll ask you how high. A certain charming, I don't know, bottom energy, for lack of a better term. And even though he's not the best person and not the most, you know, relatable or endearing character, I mean, it makes him definitely much more human. He's a very flawed character in this movie. I think the last big pro that I do love when my movies delve into the more dark thematic material, especially dark, dystopian thematic themes, like what Black Mirror does and all that, where you take these concepts that are, you have the obvious horrific concepts, but then you have these concepts on paper, they just seem cool, sci-fi, futuristic, but then you start discussing and thinking about the implications of what all this means. And like, without like revealing too much, there's the obvious, you know, if you cloning yourself, right? We know it from teleportation in Star Trek and basic conversations in the nerd sphere. If you're cloning yourself, it's a copy of you that has like, it's you with the same memories, just like boom, another version of you. So you can imagine the moral and psychological complications that could arise if you clone yourself, and then it's like, oh, you're me, you're being put to death now, you're gonna be killed now. Black Mirror did a very similar episode when they revealed that what was inside your AI was a cloned version of you, and that's when like the true psychological horror comes out, and the implications of like, what the fuck? So like, another you is birthed, and then you don't even remember being birthed. All of a sudden it's just another you that is you, but isn't you, but is you, and then there instead it is being murdered by someone and you're like signing off on it. So I love that premise, and I love how this film portrays it and starts to explore it. But the film's not perfect. Like I said, the third act is going to lose people, like 100%. It didn't lose me, but the third act suffers a little bit with pacing, a tiny bit, and then once you get to your climax, I thought the ending got very symbolic. It made me think a bit of Annihilation. Didn't pan out the same way, don't get me wrong, but just in terms of what happens is very symbolic. What happens is it's more psychological, more you can't just see it on a surface level and be like, okay, well then that's what happened. Like there are deeper layers to what happens in the third act and more to discuss and think about. But I think your average audience member, your average viewer is gonna see it and be like, what the fuck? This is weird. I don't like this. And I get that. But I'm sitting there just being like, okay, I accept what's going on. I would have gone a different direction, but I'm not the artist here, so I could still be on board. It's very unconventional towards the third act, but it is what it is. Also, same thing with Crimes of the Future, but now and Possessor and this. I don't know why. I assumed there'd be more body horror, and it's funny how these films that advertise in a certain way or that have the name Cronenberg is usually synonymous with that, but this film doesn't really delve too much into body horror. There's definitely some elements of horror that are derived from the human body, and it's horrific, but in terms of like what is in my mind as a horror and film connoisseur, this wasn't quite the body horror that I was expecting or that I'm used to. And the biggest complaint that I had, I think, and this is, I say complaint in terms of like personal fulfillment. Like I said, and like what a lot of good movies do that could have been fantastic, is it brings, like I said, a lot of good science fiction and horror and psychological concepts to the table and starts to like dig into them, starts to discuss them, show them, entertain them, and then I guess more for the sake of the characters and the concepts themselves. The characters are then like they evolve or devolve and develop or annihilate or what have you, and then the concepts are just kind of out there and we don't explore them too much more. Possessor did a pretty good job with actually there was one major concept in Possessor and it's explored pretty thoroughly over the course of 2 hours. This one, I would have liked them to dive deeper or go further or explore the implications that are brought up even more so than it did, but it doesn't, and that left me wanting. Not disappointed, just wanting. It was good. At times it was really good, but it could have been fantastic. It could have been like excellent horror, but it kind of missed the mark in that regard for me. Overall, Infinity Pool, unless I'm mistaken, I think out of Brandon Cronenberg's two main films, there could be more, but these are just the two that recently come to memory for me. I loved Possessor. I really liked Infinity Pool, but I didn't love Infinity Pool. In terms of like horror, in terms of like sci-fi horror, it's good. I think it's good, really good at times, but not disappointing, but just could have been better. I think as a quality of a film, it's almost all the way up there. Personal enjoyment, I enjoyed myself, but I would have loved to have seen more from the film. For that reason, I would gladly give Infinity Pool a low 4 out of 5. A low 4 out of 5 seems more than fair for this, but would I say see it in theaters? Sure. I would gladly go back. I'd say I never was immensely attracted to Mia Goth in the past, but I tell you what, she could seduce me right into a toxic relationship any day. I would watch it again, but I would sooner recommend Possessor. But that's all the time I got for it today, so thank you guys and gals so much for watching. I've been kind of lackadaisical with my movie reviews this year, so I feel both like I'm taking a bit of a hiatus, a minor hiatus, but also being kind of unproductive, so we'll see how that pans out as the year continues forward. But thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next movie review that I do. And goodbye, travelers.